Going into the next fight, we got another UFC vet here in Darren Elkins. This is a scary-looking man straight out of Game of Thrones. He's fighting Eduardo Garagorri. And yeah, give us a little bit more on this Uruguayan man here.
Yeah, so Elkins is an absolute vet of the sport. Like, let's be honest, probably the most ridiculous tattoo anyone's ever seen in the history of the sport. It just says the damage across his chest. And I mean, if you look at the last fight, I think you watched it. Do you remember the Nate Landwehr fight where him and Elkins fought to a decision? Well, think back to that. I mean, I'm sure you have quite a bit of a take on that fight alone.
Yeah, I mean, what I recall from that fight is just a bunch of bows being thrown. I remember Elkins' face just bloody. You know, I'm surprised it didn't end earlier than it did. But, you know, that was an entertaining one for sure. Nate got the slight edge there.
Yeah, so Nate's actually like an M1 champion out in Russia. So he actually came in with a really good striking background. And I think Elkins is that old school MMA guy, right? He showed his experience, but he also showed his scar tissue. It kind of reminds me of the Diaz brothers, right? It's the same reason where you can kind of beat up the Diaz a little bit, and they might get the edge from the old school refs that kind of know the sport well. Because at the end of the day, if it's not in a spot where it's completely going to blind them, where they're going to, you know, their life's completely on the line in terms of just getting absolutely demolished, they're going to know. And I think that's the one area where, especially with MMA fighters, history speaks for itself. This guy's going to cut. He's going to cut bad. And that actually goes into my analysis of the fight, right? Because both guys are going to try to knock each other's heads off. Yeah. And if I'm smart, if I'm Elkins, I'm going to try to take this to the ground. Because the way I see Garagorri, he's a 13-1 fighter and 1-1 in the UFC. That one loss is primarily just from an overall grappling performance. I think that all of these guys that come into the UFC now are going to see a new level of versatility, depending on who they fight. And right now, Elkins, this is not a fight he should be losing. And that's me just thinking of who he's lost to and where I see Garagorri coming in. That's what leads me to believe this is going to be close, because Elkins could still lose this fight.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of playing into that analysis, I mean, Eduardo's one loss in recent history was by submission, right? And so, you know, if he's going to stay and throw with Eduardo, that's probably not in his best interest to try and dominate this fight.
And that's where some of these guys kind of are a little hard-headed, let's be real. A lot of guys kind of either want the finish or want to work on their boxing or want to show that they can knock people out. It's just an old-school mentality, and I think
those bonuses, man. Those bonuses.
Yeah, but like I think submission should be counted for that as well. If you can make an exciting finish happen on the ground and make it happen quickly and happen like beautifully. I know. These are the kind of things where I totally agree, right? Knockouts are knockouts. I completely understand. But when you're a guy that cuts easily, when cuts come into play as doctor stoppages or people just being unable to continue, these are not the reasons you want to take a chance on just to lose a fight. This is a fight where he could potentially win. I think he was looking fairly good against Nate. And I think this is a fight where if he can show that he's at least able to go those 3 rounds, able to avoid some blows and maybe try to sneak in some of that grappling, he has a huge chance of either trying to finish this on the ground or even steal a decision. And so... Yeah,
absolutely. And so in terms of odds, kind of what are you hoping for there?
Well, I mean, you'd be surprised based on everything we said, but I think that's what's going to make it close. So I think we can see Elkins, no matter what, be a favorite based on the versatility. So let's say something as low as -110 where it's close to a pick'em, but something as high as maybe -140, -150. It just cannot be higher. It can't be.
It's actually a decent amount higher. He's a -210 favorite.
Wow. I'm a little surprised, and it makes me think about just, this is obviously not a line we're going to touch immediately. That's one thing I can say right now, because
there's no need.
Yeah, because the value for me right now is on Garagorri. Why wouldn't I check into, you know, just how much he might be able to do against someone like, you know, Darren Elkins, who likes to throw them bows and who likes to kind of mix it up a little bit. And frankly, that's not the smartest game plan here. It's not. He could avoid a lot of damage by trying to use up his energy in the first early rounds, by trying to tire him out on the ground to avoid some of those power blows that might cut him a little easier and really try to sneak out that win. But you know what? All the power to Vegas for trying to believe in this guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And stay tuned for that one, because we do kind of see some value on the dog there.